All right, welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mack right here on 1010XL's podcast platform, 1010XL.com, the 1010XL app, of course, on the 1010XL YouTube channel, the Jaguar channel, and all over social media. You'll catch this show and many, many others. My show brought to you by Team Tommy Mack. Lots to get into today on a Friday. Happy Friday. Prior to my appearance on Jaguars Today, Grammage is here. As we adjusted our schedule, now it's every Tuesday and Friday at 9 a.m. We will bring you Catching Up with Tommy Mack. Let's say good morning to Grammage. Hi, Grammage. How are you?
Happy Friday, sir.
Happy
good morning.
Friday to you, man. Man, nice swag there. I got to get some of this 1010XL swag, dude.
You know how you know things are official?
Yeah.
When you're really doing stuff, moving on up in the world?
Get some swag.
Get a quarter zip.
Oh, there you go.
Nothing screams you mean business like
Right.
a quarter zip.
That's right. That's right. Especially on a cold day.
Correct.
Especially on a cold day. Well, good, man. Well, listen, glad to have you here and glad to have everybody here as well. Before we start, because we got a lot to get into, I'm going to talk a little bit about the playoffs briefly. We're going to talk about the coaching candidates that are being interviewed. Might add one or two. Trevor addressed the media. We'll talk about that for a second. And we'll also, I went through, look, I know we're talking coaches and GM, but our players weren't very good either. So I went through the depth chart this morning and just made a list of who's upgradable, in my opinion. Doesn't mean they're off the team, but they're not going to have the kind of role that they had this year whatsoever. And we'll just go through that, and we'll have a good time doing it again. Brought to you by Team Tommy Mack. I got my Carpet Man T-shirt on. That's right, LVP, baby. Carpet Man's LVP, the highest quality flooring at the lowest prices all throughout Northeast Florida. Check them out at carpetman.biz, B-I-Z. Before we get further, I just want to say, and I know it's heavy on everybody's mind around the world, thoughts, prayers to all the people affected by the fires in California. It's absolutely horrific. I have friends out there. One of my good Boston College friends, he's good. His family's fine, but just devastation, showing us videos. It's like a bomb went off in Los Angeles. It's just absolutely awful. I know people up in North Carolina and in the mountains went through something similar with the flooding and all that. Obviously not fire, but differently, but still massive destruction. Just, man, just prayers to them all. It's just so sad when that kind of thing happens. I couldn't imagine just poof, everything just being gone. You know, we live in Florida. Hurricanes come. You can prepare. They come and go. You know, they do leave devastation. There's no doubt about that. But, man, just a tough, tough thing out there in California. And I've got a daughter that's trying to move to California, to L.A. for dance, to chase that dance dream. So, you know, I'm a little on edge about that one. But she's not leaving just yet. But that is the plan. But all thoughts and prayers. All right, so look, a great game last night, by the way. I didn't make it through the whole game, but I did go to Monkey's Uncle for the first half with my wife and some friends. My father-in-law and my oldest daughter showed up, and my brother and his wife had some food. Man, what a great atmosphere. That's a great neighborhood bar. They don't pay me to, promote them, but what a great spot. I love going in there. It's such a neighborhood-like feel. It's just so cool. The band was getting ready to play and all that good stuff towards the end of the game, but hats off to Notre Dame finding a way to getting it done.
What a game.
It was a great game.
What a game.
I saw the highlights. I woke up early and saw the highlights, but, man, what a
college football
game.
rocks, dude.
You got to, you know what, listen, if that was just the Orange Bowl, you'd be like, all right, great game.
Correct.
But now that it has, so much meaning more than just winning the Orange Bowl, you're like, all right, this shit's cool.
Correct.
This is balls on the line. It's like playoffs. It is playoffs. What am I saying? It's like playoffs. But it's like the NFL playoffs. Like every play, man, every play can change the outcome of the game. There's going to be some great games this weekend. They did move the Vikings and Rams game to Arizona, and that'll be Monday night. Smart, obviously, for smart reasons. But we got some good ones coming up this weekend, the 11th, which is tomorrow. By the way, pre-happy birthday to my brother Mike. We were talking before the show. We talked before many shows. He's going to be number 56 tomorrow. Last year, number 55 today. He's got a great weekend planned up in Indy. So happy birthday to brother Mike. I told him, I said, bro, it's LT year, man. That's a big year. It's going to be a great year for my older brother Mike. So happy birthday to him. Ravens and Steelers. The Ravens will not have Zay Flowers. The Ravens are a 9.5-point favorite. The reason why I normally don't bring the odds in, do I? Ever, right? I don't talk about odds, but I'm thinking of maybe gambling a little bit this weekend on not a lot of money by any means, but maybe putting a little coin down. I mean, 9.5 points.
You want the Steelers with the points?
I don't know if I do yet, but I'm leaning that way.
And
Anything can happen in the playoffs, right? And typically, now wild card is the one weekend where blowouts do happen.
Yeah.
Right? Then they tighten up in the divisional round because the best of the best of the best are playing. But that wild card round can get out of hand for some teams. I just feel like Pittsburgh's Steeler defense might hang in there a little bit better than people think.
Especially Steelers-Ravens game.
Yeah.
I mean, that game's never a blowout.
No. No, normally isn't. It'll be a physical game, man. I can't wait to. I love playoff football. It's the best.
It's gonna be cold. It's a cold, tough, gritty AFC North game.
Yep.
That's not a game that screams somebody winning by 10.
No,
that's a game that comes down to a swirling field goal.
Man, the only thing is if Henry gets going, that changes everything.
Yeah,
you know
of
what I mean?
course.
If he gets going, if you can't control, you're not going to stop. But if you can't control Derrick Henry in that running game, it could get out of hand.
Well, because once he gets rolling a little bit, and then you can start doing a little RPO action, doing a little read option action with them, then you're screwed. You have no answer at that point.
You're absolutely right.
Then it's like, I mean, okay, so you gotta exhaust all resources to stop Derrick Henry and give him a loaded front. Yep. Okay. Well, we also have the fastest quarterback in the history of the NFL
and
that's
one
just
of the
going to
most
keep
elusive. It. Yeah, right.
Like,
they may not even throw the ball. They may just go run and attack. I'm sure they're going to throw it plenty, but interesting. Zay Flowers out. So does that mean Brian Thomas Jr. is in for the Pro Bowl?
Well, is he like out?
He's out. He's not playing in the game. I know he hurt his knee. Too bad, man. What a shame. Last game, hurting your knee like that.
I would imagine he'd still be in the Pro Bowl if they don't make the. Now, if the Ravens were to make the Super Bowl,
then he's out.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so he might not be hurt enough to
because he's not like done for the playoffs, right? I think it's just this.
Don't know that, but he's
obviously they have
to
win, but
he's definitely done for this week.
Yeah, he's really good.
He is really good.
Brian Thomas Jr. should have gotten Pro Bowl ahead of him, in my opinion.
I agree.
Zay Flowers is really good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's electrifying.
BC guy,
Boston College. Yeah, you know who else had a stint at Boston College? I found out this morning. Ben Johnson.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. He coached for 1 year, like in 2012 or something like that, 2011.
He played quarterback at Carolina.
He
which
did
I
play
didn't
quarterback.
know.
He was a walk-on.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. We're going to talk about that. All right, Texans at the Chargers. Chargers giving up 3. I think Chargers going to – now, that might be a whooping. You know what I mean? That might be, and I hope it is. We're not Texans fans on this show. I do like their coach. You know what I mean? I do like his demeanor. But I hope the Chargers crush him. And I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna put up. That could be a 37-10 game type thing.
You know who Houston is this year? They're the Eagles from last year.
Yeah.
Started really strong.
Yeah.
Limped into the playoffs. And they're just a dead man walking in the playoffs.
Yeah.
One team that's got a little juice and a little gumption is just gonna roll.
Well, and look, the Chargers D can get after the QB, and look, I think Stroud hit that sophomore bump.
Yep.
They knew his. If you get after any quarterback, especially a young one, and hit him a lot, it's going to screw him up.
Yep.
It just screws him up.
Yep.
So he got hit a ton this year. He got confused. He forced a lot. Can he bounce back? But I'd get after his ass if I'm the Chargers, and I'm sure Harbaugh's thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Let's pound it on him and then go play action, and then on our side, let's get after that QB and make his day miserable. That's on the 11th. The 12th, we got 3 games. Bills at Broncos. Bills -8. Interesting. I think that could happen. Are they in Denver? Because the Bills did. Yes, they must have been. Because Denver won the. No, Denver didn't win. KC won.
Yeah, they're in Buffalo for sure.
They're in Buffalo. They got to be, I would imagine.
Because the Bills won.
Yeah, the Bills are second, and they're 7th.
And
right?
they
so
won the
they're
AFC
They're in
East.
Buffalo.
Yeah.
What am I thinking? Yeah. So that you're going to take I would probably take the Bills with -8. Denver's. I don't know how Denver is on the road, and Bo Nix's first time.
People are a little
cold.
People are a little high on them because they won against the Chiefs' backups last week.
Right.
I mean,
they smoked them.
I mean, you had to win that game to get in the playoffs, and it was a preseason game for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So I mean,
no, I know. Yeah, absolutely.
I think
he'll take care of it.
To be fair, Bo Nix has been way better than I thought he would be. To be fair,
totally agree, and I'll take my medicine because I didn't think he was going to be good at all. I didn't think he was that good at Auburn. I didn't watch him a lot at Oregon. Of course, you see the highlights and whatnot. But Sean Payton, got to give him a little credit, I would imagine, the play caller, whoever that is, if it's Sean, somebody else. But Bo Nix he's delivering the rock, playing efficient football overall.
A weird instance with the Russell Wilson-Sean Payton divorce where I think both sides won.
Yeah.
Russ needed to be brought down to earth a little bit in a grittier city, I think, and Mike Tomlin and kind of just getting back to just football.
Yeah.
And it's been the best year he's had in a long time.
Yeah, his last 4 games have been a little struggle. He's got it. Now it's time for Russ to turn it on.
I agree. But overall, he's kind of gotten back a little bit. He's not what he was.
No, I agree.
But he's just better.
Good enough.
And then with Sean Payton and Bo Nix, they got a good thing going.
They do.
And I think it's a classic example of just kind of bringing it to here. Sometimes you just need a new change of scenery, something fresh, something new.
Yeah. Just a new offense.
And a good fit.
Yeah, make it a good fit, culture-wise, scheme-wise, for your talent.
Doesn't mean Doug's a bad coach or whatever. Just means, sometimes it's just time for something else.
Yeah. And obviously it wasn't working. The offense wasn't working. The defense wasn't working. And we'll get to it in just a minute. All right, let's look at the NFC, Bucks and Commanders. Bucks getting 3 points. I may take the Commanders on that one. I like that Jaden Daniels. I like their defense. I think I'd go that route. Eagles and Packers at Philly. Philly giving up 4.5. I'd take that. I don't think Green Bay's gonna. And Love's banged up. Jordan Love's really banged up. Elbow too. So that's gonna be tough. We'll see if the Eagles, that defense. Let's see if they step up. For the playoffs. Kansas City seems to when the time is right. We'll see if they do. And then the Rams and Vikings in Arizona, 2.5. That's going to be a tighter game, I bet, than we imagine. Although that could, no, I don't think it'll be another blowout. I think the only blowout will be the Chargers and the Texans. At least that's what I'm thinking. But I think the Rams and Vikings should be a pretty darn good game. And Sam Darnold, hey, listen, I don't know what Detroit was doing to them with Aaron Glenn's defense, but he kept missing Jefferson. I mean, he had him open a couple of times. Hit him in the hands of one time. Would have been a hell of a catch, but that first half especially, he struggled. Can they find a way to get him confused and rattled a little bit? That'll be the key because everyone's sitting there, that's Sam Darnold, not what we've seen before. I don't believe that, but people will be like, we've been waiting for that game. Maybe that's just to make themselves feel good. They're like, we've been waiting that game for Sam. No, Sam's been playing pretty darn good football for the entire year, but he had a bad game last game. I'm sure it's not all on him. I didn't watch the tape or anything like that, but let's see if he can bounce back.
They needed
and have a good outing.
The Vikings went for it on 4th in the red zone too often, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There were, I think, 3 or 4 times they went for it and they didn't get it.
Right.
But it wasn't good spots. 4th and goal from the 4 is really hard.
Yep.
Right? Versus the 1, we're just going to run a sneak or whatever.
Right.
And they kind of got in some of those awkward positions.
Yep.
And early in the game, it's man, coaches just don't want to take the points.
Right.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
You got to be aggressive at certain points, but sometimes just take the damn points.
It depends.
Dude.
I don't know. Sometimes for me, it depends on the offense. I'd like a little room. So 4th and 4 wouldn't scare me. You know what I mean? It depends. I mean, if you're on the road and it's 0-0, I'm probably taking the points. If you're on the road, it's 0-0 and it's towards the end of the year, and or you're the games your playoffs are on the line. Maybe I get a great. You know what I mean? It depends, I guess, where I'm at in the season.
Later on in that game, when the Lions really started running up the score, the final score looked higher.
Yep.
But that game through 3 quarters, points were at a premium.
Yeah.
And I think in those games, you just cannot pass up opportunities to get more on the board. That's my opinion. And then, obviously in the 4th quarter, you kind of got to start to reevaluate
but
stuff.
4 trips and you get 12 points. I mean, I think you got to be aggressive on 1 or 2 of those drives, I would imagine. At least 1. You know what I mean? Unless my defense is shutting them down. If they only got 3 points, and maybe take the 12.
Yeah.
Depends how the defense is doing. Speaking of defense, you got to wonder. So before we get into the candidates, because there's plenty of them, what would you rather have? Okay, I'm not talking about specific, but would you rather have an offensive coordinator that has no head coaching experience, plus him bringing in a defensive coordinator, okay? Or a defensive coordinator with no coaching experience, but he's going to bring in the offensive coordinator, right? And those are key, right? Because think about it. Even if it's Ben, who's my defensive coordinator?
Yeah.
This defense sucked last year.
Yeah.
They were terrible. How are you going to fix it? And who's it going to get fixed by? Look, everyone's talking about Trevor needs to be fixed, whatever. He needs to be honed in a little bit. You can win with Trevor, but you can't win when your defense is terrible. And they were terrible. So I think that's as equally as important. Although I know he's our franchise, he's got the big deal and all that. Okay, but if you don't have the defense, I don't care if he's lights out or not. You know what I mean? He could be lights out next year, and our defense still suck, and we're still right around 500 maybe, or less. Yeah. So I think it's really important.
100%.
So and then the flip side is, okay, Mr. Defensive Coordinator, great. Aaron Glenn, great. I think you're great. Who's your OC?
Yeah.
And how do you know him? And where's the connection? You look at Ben Johnson, just doing a little research. So he was with Miami in 2012. So he probably overlapped. He was coaching tight ends, and I know Campbell was down there as a player and as a coach.
Yep.
So they probably got to know each other, and they probably talked about ideas and offense and what Dan seems like an inquisitive type guy. Like, hey, tell me more. Then he gets the job, and next thing you know, he's like, hey, Ben, you should. He was already up there, but now be my OC.
Yeah.
Right. And he's been his OC for two years. So that's that connection. Or thirdly, a head coach a guy that has head coaching experience, whether he's offensive or defensive, and then bringing in his other, right? So if he's a defensive, like Flores, okay, who are you bringing in to run your offense, or whoever. I saw Spagnuolo getting an interview, the DC from the Chiefs, who's a great defensive coordinator. He had a stint as a head coach. I'm okay. Look, second stints, because like a player, you change the scenery, you learn from what you didn't work before. You know what I mean? And you got a good defensive, like, okay, so just say Spagnuolo. I don't know if he would be, but just say he ends up being the guy. The defenses. I'm not worried about the defense anymore. He's going to make sure that they get the job done. Because they'll bring the accountability. And for me, it's all about that. Whoever they bring in, just make sure everybody's held accountable. Because they weren't at all, in my opinion. At all. So what would you rather have in those 3 or 4 scenarios?
I need an offensive guy, in my opinion.
An offensive guy, whether he's a new without head coach or with head coach, you want an offensive guy.
I want one of these coordinators. Okay. That's worked with a quarterback. A lot of these guys have worked with dudes that were high draft picks that were cast aside by their former team or whatever, and have really helped resurge these guys. Okay. Jared Goff in Detroit, Baker Mayfield in Tampa, that type of thing. And I need my head coach to be as hands-on with 16 as possible, is my personal opinion. And then from the defense, you're absolutely right. If you hire that guy, then whatever hire he makes on the opposite side of the football is going to be far and away the most important hire he makes, and it's not even close.
No, I agree.
Right?
Totally
like let's say it's everybody's favorite, Ben Johnson comes to Jacksonville.
Yep.
Totally agree with what you just said. We're not talking enough about who's he bringing in to fix this defense, because, okay, he's got Trevor rolling, and they're playing great. Awesome. They're scoring 28, 30 points. Awesome.
Right.
But they're giving up 35, and they're still 2-4.
Right.
That's a problem.
Right.
To me, the model that I would love to follow, and obviously this is easy to say, everyone would, is kind of the way when Sean McVay first went to the Rams. He was the youngest coach in the NFL. I think he was the youngest coach in the history of the NFL when he took the job. He was really young.
Yep.
Offense, hands-on, that was his whole thing. And then he brought in, was it Wade Phillips?
Yep.
I believe it was Wade Phillips he brought in. Obviously had been a head coach in the league.
Showing you on camera. People can see your face.
Obviously, Wade Phillips had been in the league.
Yep.
He's been a head coach and he's been a D coordinator for forever. He's older. He's respected. He knows how to command a locker room.
Right.
So if it was a Ben Johnson type or Liam Cohen or whatever, I would want someone like that.
Right.
Now,
like of Vrabel if he wasn't that head coach. Else, right.
Yeah,
okay.
and now
I agree with that.
Those guys don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
He was the head coach of the Broncos a few years back, before Hackett.
McDaniels?
No.
What are you talking about?
Defensive guy.
Oh, Wade Phillips.
No, not Wade Phillips. Vance.
Vance Joseph.
Vance Joseph.
Yeah.
Someone like that is like who I'm picturing.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying that him necessarily. Like, those guys are hard to find. They don't grow on trees.
But a veteran coordinator.
Yes.
Yeah. Not a newbie.
And not just someone that has a proven track record of defense, but someone that's been a head coach would be awesome.
See, if I went defense head coach experience or not, I'm okay with a first-time play caller. As long as I know him. I know, you know what I mean? I know everything about him. I know him personally. I know what he can do. I believe in him, that type of thing. Here's a question, too. Think about, like, why did Doug have 4 quarterback coaches?
It was a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
You know what
man.
I mean? Like, what? I wonder why he went that route. Now, Jim Bob Cooter obviously left. He's up in Detroit. Good for him. But I wonder why.
Yeah.
Like, why was that important to have these coaches, passing coordinator, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, right? Doug. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just seemed kind of odd.
It was
maybe
a lot.
That guy, maybe you need one. You need a quarterback coach and you need the OC, and then leave him alone. You know what I mean? I mean, like, just let those 2 guys take care of them. And
that's why,
you get 3, you get 4, then you got a private coach maybe, and it can maybe mess you up a little.
Like, I think with Ben Johnson, we're in fantasy land until it happens, but just kind of talking about all this stuff.
Yeah.
The idea of Ben Johnson being the offensive mastermind, calling the plays, being creative, doing all his stuff, and then Mark Brunell working with Trevor one-on-one.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
That gets me really excited, man.
No, I think it would be fantastic. Look, I think people do get a little construed in the fact, like, look, Jared Goff, he wasn't terrible. First of all, he was the number 1 pick in the draft way back when. He's got all the tools. I mean, I remember talking to Brunell face-to-face, like, last year, talking like, you should see the throws he makes in practice. We're, like, dropping our jaws going like, gosh, like, this guy's unreal. They think he has that generational talent, right?
Yeah.
And they did hone him in, right? They've made him better. They fit the offense around him. By the way, here's another misconstrued potentially. We see this, what Ben Johnson does, or any of these guys, with the guys they have. And then he comes here. Well, we don't have Montgomery and Gibbs. We don't have that offensive line. We may have the QB, but Goff's ahead of him right now because he's more accurate. I mean, you got to be like, just because he brings his offense down here, it's not like, whoa, here we go. Now, do we have some pieces? No doubt. Can you win with Trevor? Absolutely. But you've got a lot of work to do still. You better beef up that old line.
The main thing is the line.
I mean, you better beef it. That old line for the Lions is, man, they're bad to the bone. And they got an attitude. They got an attitude like they want to bury you into the ground, and they're going to keep their quarterback as clean as possible. So I'm just saying, like, you got to – I know we all look at it like, wow, look at that. That's a Corvette. Holy cow, it's unbelievable. Wait till we get it here, and then you get it here, and he doesn't have the pieces for the Corvette. He doesn't have the horsepower that the Corvette has, or he doesn't have whatever. Maybe he gets it over time, but it's not like – and then my concern with it, even with a defensive guy, like, you've never been a head coach. There's no automatic. Just look, when you're a coordinator, you're dealing with the coordinator. You're the one side. That's why special teams coordinators sometimes have a better feel because they deal with everybody. You say hi and you interact and all that, but you're coaching your offensive guys when you're an offensive coordinator. You're not managing the entire team. You know what I mean? Can any of these guys do it? Sure, they can. Will they? That remains to be seen. You're not going to know till if they become a head coach. Like, you take Liam Cohen. And by the way, Baker, to me, I don't know. Baker was going to bounce back, regardless, in my opinion. I think Sam Darnold's one that.
I don't agree with that.
Oh man, he's got everything you need. He's got one of the best arms in the league.
But what if Baker could have easily this year gone to the Raiders, and they'd have won 5 games?
Well, they're better set up, but he's. I don't think anybody fixed him, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I don't think Liam Cohen fixed him. Now he calls a good game, but Liam Cohen's been a coordinator for what, a year, 2 years? Same with Ben. I don't know. I think, look, the question is this, because people have all different opinions. So a coordinator with no head coaching experience, that you're going to take a risk because you just believe, you like the way he calls a game, you believe, right? And the risk is they just never done it before, right? So doesn't mean they can't, but doesn't mean they will either. That transition is tough. So, to me, I don't think we're in a position as an organization to be anybody's, and I don't mean it by guinea pig, but you know what I mean? Like, so you're going to take an organization that's been pretty bad for a while, other than a couple years, right? Over a decade or longer, and you need to win, like everybody does, but you need to turn this thing around. Need and want, whatever. There's a line there somewhere. Are you in a position to be this risky? It's still a risk if it's Pete Carroll, if it's Mike Vrabel, if it's whoever. You know what I mean, Brian?
Yeah.
It's still a risk, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, they've been through it. They know how to do it. Maybe they learned from their past. You know what I mean? So the question is, our organization, are we in this position to go risky with a first-time head coach? Now, if it works, risk is reward. If it doesn't work, we're set back another 3 years.
So
could you mitigate that risk, I guess, with a coach that has had head coaching experience?
So that's what I was about. Like, I would say no. Like, I think the alternative is just as big a risk. Outside of Mike Vrabel, I think, is a little bit of an exception in here because he got fired in Tennessee because management didn't agree with him and said that it wasn't because of lack of on-field success.
Yep.
So let's put him in a different bucket. And I don't think he's
I'd
coming
like
here
Vrabel.
anyways. I would love Vrabel.
I'd like Vrabel.
But let's put him in a different bucket because I think he's kind of out. Like, Flores failed in Miami.
Okay. Did he learn from the failure?
So
he is as a coordinator,
but
they love him up there.
But taking the risk that he learned from his past head coaching mistakes is just as big of a risk, in my opinion, as a first-time guy that's learning.
Okay, and we got to interject something. I should have already. We're not in the interview for any of them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, of course,
you may sit down with him, and he may go through it, and maybe he does sit there and say, "I don't know." I'm guessing here, and I'm not saying I want Flores. I'm just saying, like, he could be like, "You know what? I was too hard on Tua. I tried to motivate him a certain way, and it didn't work, and I've learned from that, and I've got a different approach."
Yeah.
You can ask my defenders, my guys in Minnesota, how they feel about me, and you know what I mean? I mean, and then Ben, I know I'm a first-time, candidate here, but guess what? I come from this, I believe in this. Here's my offense. This is my defense coordinator. He's coming with me. I already got it locked and loaded. If you want me to bring a personnel guy, I got somebody. If maybe you talk, you know what I mean? Like, then you're like, wow, this guy's got it together. That's one thing that us fans and even us media people, we're not in the interview. So you don't know how the interview goes. And the Zooms, they just drive me crazy. Like these candidates this week, like Ben Johnson's got 4 Zoom interviews. One each morning, afternoon. Like, I don't know. I mean, he can only do what he can do. It's not him, but just the process just seems, you know what I mean? Kind of whack, in my opinion.
I would say, like, with the past coaching experience guy versus the first time guy that is a coordinator.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I just think the risk. Again, there are exceptions. Mike Vrabel this cycle, I think, is an exception. I think Doug Peterson, when the Jaguars hired him, was a little bit of an exception. Because things ended poorly in Philly, but he was really good for the most part in Philly.
Oh, yeah.
And Doug was the right hire when they made it.
I agree. He had to settle it down.
Just because it didn't pan out. Well, it doesn't mean it wasn't the smart hire when it was made.
It was a circus with Urban Meyer and then the
Correct.
firing. They had to have someone that could settle it down. A Super Bowl winning head coach settled it down. There's no doubt about
Correct.
it. But here's the question, Graham. The last 23 games were what, 5-18?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to settle that down?
Yeah.
Because we're in disarray right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what the owner says. I don't even believe half the stuff that comes out. I don't think he really knows.
Yeah.
We have this. We have this. You don't hardly have any. You have some stuff, but you need a lot more. And you need a culture change.
Yeah.
And you need an identity change, and you need a standard change. Because the
100%.
standard right now is like beneath this table. And it's
Yeah.
got to be a lot better.
Yeah.
So that and again, it's not a knock on any of the candidates. It's where we are at as an organization. Like any of these guys, Liam Cohen, say you love him. What a great interview. We're going to hire him. Awesome. I'm behind any hire for the record. I'm Jag for life. I'm going to root for him. I'm going to cheer for him. Of course, I'm going to critique him as I do, but I want him to win no matter what. So whoever they hire, whatever. We ride, right? We ride. But Liam Cohen comes in here, and let's just say it doesn't work out. He doesn't settle it down. And then we're another 4-12, 4-13, or we're 6-11, or whatever. Maybe we're not. Maybe he flips it around and we're 11-6. I don't know. You don't know till they get here. The question is the organization in the position to be that risky? Because if it doesn't, you're going to give them 3 years.
Well, but that's kind of what I'm saying. It's every bit as risky to hire Brian Flores, in my opinion, or whoever the ex-coach would be.
Experience, so, and I think he was, other than the way he treated some of the players, I think he was all right. I don't think he was that bad. I mean, he's not first on my list, but I know everyone's going to laugh. And although you keep hearing Chicago is going to go for it with Pete Carroll. Could Pete Carroll, with the right coordinators in mind, come in and settle things down and make us 500 better, right? And then you take the risk. I don't know. I'm just talking out loud here. There are some really good candidates. There's no doubt. There's a couple. I'm like Robert Saleh. I'm just, God bless him. If he was our D coordinator, maybe, because I know he's a really good coordinator.
He would be.
I don't know if I'd feel comfortable with his track record in New York.
And
not necessarily all your fault, Robert. I'm not saying that, and I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
But the track record, I don't know. Too soon, maybe. I don't know. I don't feel like he'd be a good fit.
I tend to believe that if Saleh doesn't get another head coaching job, he's going to go back to San Francisco as DC.
Be a DC.
However, if somehow, some way,
we
could lure him in as DC, he's exactly the type of guy I'm talking about.
Yeah. Ben Johnson, I want Robert Saleh.
Yes.
Boom. Great. Let's go for it.
Because now I got a guy on the defensive side of the ball that I know can coach defense.
Yep.
I know he's a leader of men.
And he's got head coaching experience that you can lean on.
Yes.
That's a nice recipe.
Because now we're best of both worlds.
That mitigates the risk.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now we're best of both worlds. I think with a coordinator, because with the floor is always lower with a coordinator because he's never been a head coach, like we're saying, the ceiling could also be potentially higher because you just don't know, right? It's the unknown and whatever.
Right.
To me, you keep that ceiling just as high, but you raise that floor a good bit.
Yep.
And when you have someone solid like that, it's a lot less likely that the bottom will just completely fall out and they'll just be this joke and can't do anything. And you're going to be at least solid to good on the defensive side of the ball, if not really good on the defensive side of the ball. You're going to have some leadership in there outside of just the head coach.
Yep.
That's
a good recipe.
The recipe.
I would take my bets on that.
Going back to the Sean McVay example.
Yep.
We all acknowledge Sean McVay now as this great coach.
Right. We didn't know when they first hired.
We had no idea. He was a baby as a head coach.
Yep.
And a lot of older media personalities, whatnot, were like, this kid's a kid. Like, how do we? So he goes and gets Wade Phillips.
Yep.
A guy that's been there, done that, experience, veteran leadership. Now all of a sudden you got a coaching staff that you can really get behind.
Yeah. No doubt. I like that. I'll tell you, and I got to move because I got to get to the Jaguars Today radio show. Like Todd Monken, Kellen Moore, I don't like that fit. Those quarterbacks that they coach right now aren't the style Trevor is. I would lean more towards the Joe Brady if I'm looking at that.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Because I think Trevor's got some Josh Allen in him.
I
And
totally
I've
agree.
always thought that.
Totally
and I was
agree.
looking for that trajectory. Hasn't happened.
I
Who
love
started
Joe
to.
Brady.
Yeah, I think Joe Brady. Now, if Joe Brady brings in the coordinator, right? Same kind of deal.
Now, you know,
Aaron Glenn does intrigue me, though. I got to admit. I don't know. I like his demeanor. I like his style. You can tell they respect him. You can tell that he lays it down when he has to.
he played here for whatever it's
He
worth.
played. The injuries they had up there on defense, yet they still performed. What they put together against Minnesota last week was really impressive. He could be now. Granted, I want to know his OC, and maybe he's got a veteran OC that we're not thinking of. That, yeah, you know what? Okay, he can help Trevor. He can help this offense. He's got weapons. We're gonna beef up the line. So anyway, it's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be fun covering it.
You know what I love, real quick, because I know we got to wrap. Back to the Joe Brady. You know what's really, really helped unlock and fix their offense in a lot of ways and make them more efficient?
Yep.
They run
the ball. Well, they got a big offensive line to move people.
And they're averaging 4 or 5 yards a carry, man.
That matters a ton.
Now magically a year they run the ball way better. Josh Allen doesn't throw as many picks.
Right. Well, no, right.
Imagine
and then back to the Lions. Without that running game, where would they be?
Correct.
Without those two running backs who are absolutely outstanding. I'm Montgomery's hurt, but Gibbs, they're unbelievable.
And it would be for those offensive coordinators, because they know how much they've relied on it. It would be a priority for them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, the final thing we'll get into. I won't get into Trevor. Well, he spoke to the media, instilled toughness, set a culture to be a tough team mentally and physically. We all agree with that, and we know Trevor is a very tough hombre. There's no question about that. We're going to get into, as we wrap up, players who I think could be upgradable and we move on from in order for this team to take the next step. Brought to you by Team Tommy Mac. I mentioned Carpet Man Flooring. Don't forget to go to TommyMac.net, please, and check out all the logos. Click right on them, and I got something for everybody. You need a place to get out of jail. You need someone to help you get out of jail because you made a mistake. Chris Lucille's Bail Bonds, #1 name in the bail game. Go check them out, 904-822-2245. J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling. The veteran owned and operated. They'll pick up your junk, they'll refurbish it and give it to veteran families in need, and they'll also take care of your debris, construction debris. Go to jdog.com. I mentioned Carpet Man Flooring, Morgan & Morgan, the #1 personal injury law firm in the entire free world, forthepeople.com. They handle it all, and they do a fantastic job. You get hurt, call Morgan and Morgan. Fields Cadillac right there on Blanding and I-295 and in St. Augustine. I tell you what, they've got it all from all fuel-powered hybrids and electric. Check out them at those two great locations. Azar Sausage, third-generation homegrown down home. You guys know them. You love them. They're in Winn-Dixie. They're in all the local grocers. They're absolutely fantastic. The hot and andouille are our favorite. Whether in your favorite dish or in a bun, Azar Sausage is the one. Code Ninjas. Get your kids into the after-school program, learning all about tech, coding, security, AI, you name it. They'll show it to you, and they'll educate our little ones, ages 5 through 15, at CodeNinjas.com. Family Tradition Specialty Foods.com. Make sure you go to that website, and make sure you in the discount bar put in pound Team Tommy Mac. You get a BOGO free of Coconut Joe's hot sauce. It's what's on our table. Give it a chance to be on yours. Newmark Phoenix Realty Group. I've known them forever. Fantastic people. They're #1 commercial real estate firm right here in Northeast Florida and beyond. Retail, office, industrial, investments, and development. 904-399-5222. Freedom Finance. Hey, man, my man Courtney Myers, take care of you and all your financial needs. When it comes to, starting a business, you got an early stage, your mid stage. He'll clean up your books. He'll get you fundraising. He'll do some forecasting. He acts as a fractional CFO for you. Check him out, freedomfinance.llc. Saltaire Inn & Suites. I was over there the other day. Man, what a kick-ass little boutique hotel, 4 blocks from the ocean. They're part of the town center there in Atlantic Beach, and they're only 2 blocks from all the action. Make sure you check them out because they give you concierge service. And Michael Nickus' State Farm Agency. He's been my agent for over 20 years. Give him a chance to be yours. Auto, life, supplemental health. He does it all for you, man, and home, and takes care of it for your business or personal. He's got a team that's ready for you 24/7. Check them out at 904-777-6888. All right, I went through the the depth chart this morning. Look, we're all talking coach and this. We got to upgrade the players, man. We got a good amount, but we got to upgrade the players. So let's go through it. I started on offense. Offensive line, upgradable. Walker Little, upgradable in my opinion. Anton, I'm not going to say he's upgradable, but he better turn it around. And I hope he's in that weight room this offseason because he needs to be. Hance did a nice job filling in, but he's got to upgrade him. And then Sheriff, I think it's time to upgrade, but I would prepare for that and let's see if he's going to come back or not and see how he can perform. Overall, the O-line was not the major problem this year. You just got to upgrade it a little bit and get some beef. I thought Ezra had a good year. I thought Mitch had a good year overall. D-line, Hamilton, Ledbetter, Lacey, Miles Cole, and Abdullah. I think they all should be upgraded. And I'm sorry to say that to those guys. And out of all of them, I thought Hamilton had the best year. I do think he has some value. But you know what I want to see? Like I've been saying the whole time, 41, 91, 94, 44, and then bring whoever off the bench. We do need another pass rusher, so we got to hopefully find one. But I don't think we have it on the roster unless it maybe is Devin Lloyd. And I think they should give him a shot at running some bat and running some outside pressure when called upon. I'm not ready to upgrade him just yet. I am in the passing downs. But I think he's still okay against the run, and he can blitz, and he can rush a passer. So I'm keeping him. Foye, I don't know if he's upgradable, but I'm ready for Miller to take over. I'm ready for Ventrell Miller to take over and be the Mike backer, and then we'll figure out the rest. Of course, Muma, we're going to have to upgrade. And he's a good special teamer, so you keep him around for that. I thought Caleb Johnson had a good year on special teams. He made a lot of tackles this year, and I thought he was really good. DBs, Darby. I don't know what you do with his contract, but I might not even bring him back, to be honest with you. I think he needs to find a defense. Or if the new defensive coordinator can use him, then fine. Let's wait to see that happens. Tyson Campbell, man, he's got to upgrade himself. I mean, he needs to be better. He needs to be an elite corner. He is not an elite corner. He's not. He's okay. He's not terrible. He's probably our best guy, but we need more. We need more. I think I'm looking at the cornerback position in the off season. Buster, I think Buster's upgradable, but I like him. You know what I mean? I think he's a tough guy. I think he's got grit. I think he battles. But I would probably be looking at that. Safety, Savage upgradable. Wingard upgradable. Cisco, lose some weight. But you're pretty close. And then Antonio Johnson, I'm not going to say upgradable yet, but he's got to be better in the mental aspect. I think he's got all the physical tools to be a good safety, but those other guys are upgradable. As far as the wide receivers, I'm not going to say he's upgradable because he's coming back, but Gabe Davis, please. We now have a legit number one threat like you had up in Buffalo with Stephon Diggs. Get back to what you did in Buffalo. It's not monster, but it would help us a ton, and you got to hang on to the football. So, I like our tight ends. I like the other positions. Special teams are great. Daniel Thomas is great. I'm keeping him. What about Javon Foster? What are you going to do with him? That's going to be an interesting one. Is he still a project, or is he ready to get in there and compete for one of those spots? I don't know. But I know we're all talking GM, rightfully so, coach, rightfully so. But you better fix the players in that locker room. You got some dogs, the ones I didn't name. The rest, you got to upgrade them, in my opinion. All right, I got to fly. Thanks, Grammage. Appreciate it. Thanks to all of you. Catch me on Jaguars Today. Going there right now on 92.5 FM. Until next time, stay safe, be cool, and we'll see you right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mack. Peace and love. Have a great weekend.